Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out. I wonder when I started saying that. I don't know, but it kind of stuck. So we just still are saying it, right? Because it's an everyday thing to learn to peace out, to learn to trust God more for whatever situation we are facing right this moment. Yesterday, I totally encouraged myself close to the end of it. So if you didn't watch yesterday's, go back and watch it while it's still available, right? But where God's sending them back into the wilderness, he says, okay, you don't get to go to the promised land right now. You're going to come, but all of y'all older people, you're going to die off, and the younger people are going to come take it. So you're going to go walk in the wilderness 40 years, and then you'll come back around. I'm still going to give you the land. And then it struck me that he was still providing manna for them in the wilderness. So he didn't withdraw that blessing just because they were rebellious and hateful and unbelieving and going, I don't know. And then they just totally disobedient. You could fill that blank in with, they were all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And he didn't withdraw. He still provided for them. He still gave them manna. He didn't say, I don't know what you're going to eat. You got yourself in this bind. He continued to provide for them. And that totally encouraged me yesterday. So as I was going about the day, I was actually meditating on it. I was thinking about it and like, wow, so God took care of them. He's going to take care of me. So we get ourselves in. So I get myself in situations and I think, well, God, I don't know if you can help. I know you can help me with this, but I don't know if you should, because I need to learn a lesson. I need this or I need that. But that really encouraged me, because he's like, he's going to take care of us no matter what. He doesn't withdraw provision as a form of punishment or to teach us something, right? He doesn't say, well, so I was thinking about it. So then I started working on about these two projects, and AI has made them much more complicated than they have to be. I literally got a 50-page brief the other day that I'm supposed to make a 1,500-word article out of. It's so hard to go through all of it. So AI is made, and it's AI generated, and it's just a mess. Anyway, and so as I was working, I'm like, this is so hard to try to figure out how to read this brief just to write this article. Just give me an outline. I'll figure it out. But they want this many words, that many. It's just ridiculous how it's gotten, right? And I was like, why? And I was like, this is like pulling teeth. This is horrible. This is like, it's getting harder and harder. And then it's hard to sit down to work on it, because it's going to just be, it was just like layer on layer of difficulty in these projects. But I need the projects. So I got to take the projects. I got to work, right? And I had this thought. I was like, you know what? This is like the children of Israel. This is in Exodus 5. Same children of Israel that started out, they're in Egypt and they've come across, and they were making bricks. They were in slavery, and they were when the Pharaoh got mad because they wanted to go 3 days off into the wilderness to worship God, to serve God. And he's like, if you got time to go do that, to even be thinking about that, you got more time to work. So they were giving them the straw to make the bricks. And then they said they took the straw away. It was already hard to make the bricks. They were already in slavery. They were already working for this regime, right? And then they said, now you've got to make the same amount of bricks, but you got to go get your own straw. And I was like, that's what I felt like with my work project, right? It's like, okay, I've been doing this for over 15 years now. So about 16, 17 years now. And all of a sudden it's getting harder and harder, but it's the same thing. And I got to give the same articles, but I got to do a whole different process. And it seemed like, man, this has just complicated it and made it so difficult. And I thought of the children of Israel. I thought when they took the straw, and how much harder it made their process. And so that was drawing that parallel to my life. So I hope you understood that, right? But then I was like, well, what did that mean for them, though? And I went, it meant that deliverance was on its way. It meant that they were about to exit Egypt, right? They were just this very hard spot that got harder, got more difficult, more layers. And just it became impossible. Just meant they were fixing to get out of Egypt. Their deliverance was on the way. Their escape was on the way. So everything in their life was about to change. Some of it for the better, some of it maybe wasn't going to be as pleasant because of their attitudes, right? But God had already started the deliverance process. And so I was like, I really took that, and I took that as an encouragement, as when you're in a situation and it just seems like everything got so complicated, all of a sudden it doesn't even make sense. It just means you're being distracted from what God is about to do in your life. Something is change is on the way. We can trust God that he's not sitting up there going, oh, that got more difficult. I'm so sorry. No, he's like, it's okay. It'll be okay in a minute because I got this plan. We're already going here. This is hard right now. It got harder right now, but that's okay. It doesn't mean you're stuck. It did not mean they were stuck. Pharaoh was trying to tighten his grasp on them to keep them in slavery mode, right? And God was going, this ain't going to last very long. And Moses even went back, and he even went back to God, and he goes, God, why did you do this to they're complaining to me? He should have seen that pattern coming, right? But he's like, they're complaining with me. Why? It's getting worse, God. It's getting worse, God. What are you doing? And God goes, don't worry, we got this. And then it wasn't long until they literally came out of Egypt, and they are no longer slaves. They are not bound. They're not being beaten. They couldn't understand even how to operate in a world where they weren't being told when to breathe and where to go, how to move. And they had been in slavery so long. But when it gets tougher on tougher, it just means there is something else coming. That's a time for us to sit back and just go, you know what? I still got to do this tough stuff. I got 4 to write today. And then I don't know if I can get them done today. I'm going to try. But man, I dread going in because I'm like, when it gets tougher and tougher, though, it means start looking for something. What is God doing here? What is he doing? Not what am I doing here, right? It's because when it gets tighter, it means the enemy doesn't want to give up his hold on you. Maybe it's debt. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's an emotional thing. Maybe whatever it is usually because God is fixing to do something in your life. Things can usually get worse. What does it say? It's darkest right before the dawn. That's really true, right? And so if things are looking harder, if things are feeling harder and things are getting tougher, look up and see, God, what are you doing? What are you doing in my life? What are you doing in this world? Because as things get more difficult, it just means that the enemy wants to distract us from what God is doing, right? That Pharaoh was like, stop thinking about going out. He was trying to control their thoughts. That's what bondage is. That's what slavery is. They want to control even your thoughts, but they can't. The enemy can't control our thoughts. He doesn't even know our thoughts. Now, he can give us thoughts, and what he likes to do is give us thoughts and then condemn us for those thoughts. Oh, how dare you think that? You're not even really saved. How can you even say you're saved if you're thinking something like that, right? But he can't read our thoughts. He can read people because he's watched people for so long, but he can't read our thoughts. But he would love to control our thoughts. That's why it's so important to keep our minds on what God is doing instead of just what we're doing. We want to make our minds line up with God's word, with what God has told us, with the promises he's made, with the vision he's given you, with the prophecy he gave you. Then we take those thoughts, and 2 Corinthians 10 tells us to bring them captive to the word, bring them captive to the obedience of Christ. So don't let your thoughts just run away. Stop and go, you know what? If things are getting harder, that means God is moving. God is doing something I can't see right now. God has something planned that I don't know, and the enemy maybe knows, or if you want to know, the universe knows, however y'all, I don't know what y'all think about that, right? But the enemy knows, or life is becoming crushing, then God is up to something. Because when they got harder for them, deliverance was on its way. As a matter of fact, in my Bible, the titles here, it says they have to make bricks without straw, and right across it just says, the promise of deliverance. God said, it's okay if it's getting tougher because it's about to be over. We are fixing to leave this place. We're going to plunder the Egyptians and take all of their good stuff, and we're going to head across to Canaan land. And the provision had started. This was going to be the last batch of bricks they ever made, because they were about to be free from slavery. Was it going to be easy when they got free from slavery? No, they were going to have other difficulties. There was going to be other challenges, but they were better than being in slavery, right? They were better than being beaten for not getting enough straw to make enough bricks. For them, what were they building that anyway? But their thoughts were free. Their bodies were free. Their emotions were free. Now, they took forever to try to get that mentality out. That was what the wilderness was all about, was trying to get that oppression out. You're not oppressed anymore. That was manna. I'm taking care of you. So everything was about to change. So when it gets really, really difficult, and it feels like sometimes it feels like I'm just trying to walk through mud. This sticky, thick mud. It's just, the move is just so hard. It's okay because deliverance is on its way and God has a better plan. So look up from the brick making if you're in a situation that just feels so hard. Take a moment to just look up and go, okay, I know that God is up to something, and ask him to reveal his plan. And you know what? Just trust him more. Just trust him more. When it gets harder, you got to trust him more. You don't trust him less. They were getting mad. They were going, Moses, well, hold on. What's going here? This is the opposite of what you said. And sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes it's the opposite of what it looks like. It looks like the total opposite of the promise of God sometimes. That's actually the perfect spot because it means God is fixing to act on your behalf. Everything's fixing to change. They're soon to be released from slavery and go out into the wilderness and learning a whole new lifestyle, a whole new relationship with God, and having a whole new look on life. Maybe for these guys, we'll say the opportunity to look at life through a different lens, right? And so if it's hard right now, don't give up. Just know God is doing something and better is on the way. It's always on the way. We just got to get that vice grip from our head and remind ourselves God is right here in this moment. It doesn't mean he left. It didn't say that he changed his plan. He didn't even change his plan when they acted up, and he continued his provision. I love that about God. And that's why today I'm going to peace out. No matter what I see, no matter what I feel, no matter what I go through, no matter how hard these stupid articles are to write, I'm just going to say, I'm going to trust God no matter what. And it will change my outlook on the whole circumstances, right? And we're just going to trust God that he's going to give us peace today. So if it's getting harder, don't give up. Actually, get closer to God because he's fixing to do something in our lives when things really get more intense. He's got us covered no matter what. Have a great weekend, you guys. And I'll see you bright and early Monday morning. Peace out.